got so many questions for Ian Foster. Has he got his first 15 in mind? Has he selected that 23 to run on against Argentina? Is Sam Watt going to be on that plane? Is he going to play? Is it all about winning every single test, or is it about building towards the Rugby World Cup? We finished the season on such a high. Apart from that test versus England, what kind of momentum can we carry in from that? What kind of style does he want to play? Does he select combinations or individual players? Do you select a back three, or do you select each individual player, two wingers and a fullback? See what I mean? Do you select a midfield, or do you select those guys individually? And just personally, how has he rebounded from last year, and what does he kind of expect this year, given the fact that if we lose again, is it all going to regurgitate itself? Well, he joins us. It's always a very warm welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for joining us. All Black coach, Ian Foster.
Great to be here, Marty.
It's a long haul to Argentina. So what do you do between now and then? I mean, and all your planning, your preparation, how much of it is in place?
Yeah, look, it's we had 3 days, obviously, last week with the non-finalists. We've got a little bit of light stuff done. This week it's very similar tempo. It's sort of a slow to fast learning week where we can't go too hard with them, but it's, we have to use the 3 or 4 days we've got here in Auckland just to really build the blocks we need. So, but it's been great. It's been great having the group together. They've come in and a bit of fatigue with a few of them, obviously, after the final, but really impressed the way they're honed into their work.
How do you want to play? I mean, just in terms of how you played last year, and I'm especially looking at, obviously, the end of last year, the last 5 or 6 games where we had some great form and great results up until the draw, the last 10 minutes against England. So are you looking to replicate that?
Yeah, look, we certainly are. We really started to get things going the way we wanted. I think when you restart, you've got to make sure you can't make assumptions that you're going to pick up where you left off. But certainly, we've got to re-establish some big boulders in our game in terms of, the quality of our set piece, the quality of our driving play, and I think the quality of our breakdown work. And they were some areas that we put a special focus on. And so that's going to be a non-negotiable for us again, and something there's a lot of work's gone in. And then after that, I think it's really about creating a structure and a mindset of attack that is based on space rather than just playing through different sort of pods and structures. And so we're just trying to release that a little bit in this group.
So is that, if I can interpret that is like you think that as the All Blacks, we have to play differently against these opponents that we're going to face right now, then into the World Cup. We have to play our own brand of rugby as opposed to trying to outdo them at theirs? Yeah,
I totally agree with that. I think we've got an attacking mindset. We always have. It's how we want to go into this year, and we want to make sure that we don't overstructure our game, that we end up becoming a little bit too robotic in what we do. And so it's a matter of, just empowering players to when we see space, to actually look at taking it and making sure that we've got the skill set and the support systems to back those decisions. So it sounds a bit technical, but it's actually trying to make the game a little bit less complicated and straightforward. And as long as we look after the ball and with the breakdown and our ball carrier work, then that gives us confidence to really just back ourselves to make those sort of decisions. So that's that side of the ball, Marty. And I think the other side of the ball is, we've just got to, I think, ramp up some of, our accuracy and intensity and how we defend. We're a good defensive team, but I think there's another couple of cogs in us in that space, and certainly going into the World Cup, that's going to be a massive focus for us.
One of the things last year in bringing in Jason Ryan, and we saw that straight away up on the high veld against Africa, didn't we? Stopping the rolling more and seemed to get on top of that from that point on.
Yeah, there's no doubt, and it coincided with, I guess, with Jason coming. It also coincided with us getting hurt against Ireland in that space, and I think internationally, if you have a soft belly there, because it's an avenue that most teams like to score their points, a majority of their points. So if you've got a soft belly there, then it becomes an easy give for them. They can just go and play a game that gets them into that position, and they get reward. Whereas we worked hard on that. I think we made some massive strides in that space, but we've got to continue that, because once we can negate that part of an attacking plan of their opponents, then it forces them to actually look elsewhere and maybe play outside their comfort zone, and we think that offers up a lot of opportunity for us.
Ian Foster's with it. Foz, is it about winning every single test match from here, or is it about building towards the World Cup, or do you separate the two? How do you do it?
Yeah, look, it's the All Blacks. It always is, isn't it? You know, it's always about winning every test, and I think you can fudge it and say you want to build, and it's all about the World Cup, and let's be honest, we all know it's the trophy that really matters for us at the end of the year. But I think for us, the best way for us to prepare for that is to go in with we want to play well, we want to be dominant from test one, and I think we want to use these opportunities ahead of us to the Rugby Championship, the Bled, and that game in London against South Africa to really test our combinations, to challenge ourselves. And I don't think you really test yourself well enough if you give yourself a mental out of saying the game doesn't matter. So I think it does matter for us. I think going into this Rugby Championship fully loaded and from a mindset perspective, and we want to attack, we want to play well, and we really think it's important for us to do that, to climb on that plane and go to France in the right state.
Look, I'm going to ask some goofy questions, and I know that you're prepared for this anyway, mate, but I mean, these are the things that are kind of going on in my mind. The noise from the outside, from all of us who know everything, but we aren't in your shoes. Jeff Wilson says Ardie should be benched, that he's better coming off the bench as a number 8. Half the country's screaming for Sean Stevenson. A couple of aspects to this. How much of this do you hear, are you aware of? Does it have any influence over you and your selectors at all?
Oh, look, I hear lots, and I really respect people have got different views, and I actually like that. And I do chuckle when people say, "Oh, have you thought of this?" We think
you are the All Black coach after all, you know.
Well, I just want to reassure you, we do actually think about some things.
Good on you.
And so, we've got a whole lot of. That's what the last 3 months is about filtering different plans, and sometimes people have really good ideas that solve a problem, but there's a reaction that creates another one. So, I've got no doubt that the likes of Ardie would be an outstanding bench player, but he's also an outstanding starter. So, what you gain in one aspect, you want to make sure you don't lose in the other. So no, look. We listen, but clearly we've got a plan, and you look at and I guess the debate about the back three. Well, we've always looked at Super Rugby form. We get excited by it, and then we have to interpret Super Rugby form and translate that to Test match rugby, and then say, okay, well, what's that likely to look like, and how are we going to integrate that? So, the Sean Stevenson one's a classic, and ironically, he's here for a reason, because he's earned the right and he's played well, and the door's open for him. So we are, while he's in here, we're going to make sure we look to see how his skill set could work in our game, and how we can maybe grow other parts.
Are you pleased with what you saw at Super Rugby? And I'm especially talking about from the knockout stages on, because that's the business end of the season. From semi-finals and finals on, what do you look at, and how much influence does that then pay in terms of who you select, thinking, okay, under pressure I saw this, or under stress I saw this?
Yeah, look, we're always interested in that, and sometimes it's not about confirming a player's in or out. Sometimes it's looking at how we can grow a player that we've already had in mind, that we already want to pick, and how he needs to learn that lesson from that particular game. So we're using all those experiences. I think the thing that I liked about the playoffs was, and actually, to be fair, I think I kind of predicted this about 2 months before then. I thought the Aussies were always going to come back and finish a bit stronger, and I think what we saw in the playoffs, we saw the Brumbies and the Reds start to really play their type of game against the New Zealand teams, and I thought they really challenged us, so we were particularly interested in how we went against non-New Zealand opponents, and because clearly that's what we have to come up against. And so it was good to see, how the Aussies played against the Reds Chiefs game, the Brumbies, Hurricanes and Chiefs games. They were big games, tough games, and how we responded to that different style, I think, was good for us.
When you're selecting, do you look at, say, for example, the midfield isolate itself? Say the back three isolate itself, the loose forwards. Do you look at those guys in combination with each other, or do you look at individuals and then think I make the combinations? How does that work?
You look at individuals first, I think. I think you're really trying to get a really clear handle on what players do really, really well on the rugby park. And then once you see that, then you start putting the jigsaw together and saying, well, how can that look? So, particularly things like back three, you got a traditional model of a power winger and a more of a fullback type winger, and then you've got your fullback, and so how you link that. But that doesn't mean that's the formula that we select to. You still want players to really put their hand up, and so we're looking at, we've got a couple of power wingers here with Caleb and Lester, but that doesn't mean that we can't look at some other options and chuck a Mark Tolero to the left wing, for example, if we feel like that's more the skill sets and the players' form that matters. So we're playing around with that, but like I said, we've got some combinations that we're pretty excited with. The matter is how we actually unfold that over the next few weeks with a few niggles and a bit of fatigue.
How close are you to your first 15 and your 23 in mind? Have you already selected that Argentina side?
Yep. Yeah, I think so. I think we've certainly got it penciled on my spreadsheet. I've probably got a bit of convincing to do with a few other people, but no, we're pretty set on that. But out of all the teams that we're going into, this is the one that we've always got to, we'll have some final conversations on the weekend and when we're in the plane and get that nailed, because we really do have to assess where players are at this week, and we're looking at how much energy. There's still a few niggles that we've got to get on top of it. It's stopped a few people training, so all those variables will come to play. So I think the Argentinian game the plan will probably change a little bit than perhaps what we started with, but hopefully after that, from South Africa onwards, we're able to really get settled into our work.
Is Sam Whitelock going to be on that plane to Argentina?
Yep, he'll be on the plane.
Okay.
Look, we've got 38 with us now, Marty. There's two guys that won't be, and because we can only take 36, we've obviously got, but there's some guys that will be on the plane that won't be available to play against Argentina, but we really feel that we need the squad to spend time together, and training time is going to be valuable. So, the likes of Anton and Brown, who's suspended, is still more than likely to be on the plane. The likes of a Sammy Whitelock and probably a Fletcher Newell, for example, that won't be in a position to play, will unlikely to be in a position to play. Those two are still likely to be on the plane. So we're just working through that balance now.
Why would you take them if they can't play?
Time together, train.
Okay.
We've got a full week of training. We come back from Argentina and land at, I think, Monday afternoon before that South African test. So that week's incredibly compromised from a time preparation side. So having the chance to prepare everyone, these 3 or 4 days and 7 days next week is money in the bank for our preparation for South Africa.
Do you make the final decision when it comes to selection calls? You say that you're going to have discussions, conversations and things. Are you ultimately Idi Amin and what you say, da-da-die, that's it?
No, there's 3 selectors and we've got a coaching group that all input. Okay. And but ultimately, I guess there's one person with the laptop.
Right. A couple more questions, we'll let you go. I always thank you so much for giving us so much time. It's just a fascinating insight. Last time I spoke to you, you were speaking because the whole Scott Robertson thing hadn't been sorted and you were frustrated and you just wanted it done so you could fully focus. Since that has happened, have you felt like you have been able to just turn your attention to your job, which is coaching our All Blacks?
I don't think anything's really changed. There's always issues you've got to deal with in this job, but nothing's changed. What my focus is and what this team's focus is, it's about this All Black campaign and this World Cup. And so, and comments made earlier was simply about wanting to basically have wanting to keep that focus really, really clear. That's where we're at. And so nothing's really changed for me.
You don't carry any baggage all about from what happened last year, about the pasting you received, about all of that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's a human thing. I mean, I don't know. Look, I went through crap myself. Nothing, of course, anything near a scale that you have to put up with or you had to put up with, and just to clear your mind and be able to keep going on. Is that an easy thing to do?
Look, nothing's ever easy, but we've got to really, me and this group, got a really clear focus about what we're about this year, and that's hugely motivating, and that's the space that we're in. We've got the right people on the bus, really excited about the group, and now we've just got to get into our work, and quite frankly, that's all that's on my mind.
See, because that's what I wanted to say to you. I wanted to say, you got the All Black coaching job, man. This is the best job. I mean, all of us want to think we can be the All Black coach ahead of a World Cup. This should be fun, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. It's a chance for us to test ourselves on a world stage. We love that. We actually crave those opportunities, and it's and that's the mindset that this group need to develop as we transition from Super Rugby into the international rugby. So, look, I think it's really simple. It's a World Cup year. What could be better? And, it's a World Cup in terms of strength of opponents in France, the national team being the favourites. I mean, the challenge is very clear and obvious, and so's the draw. So how we go about our work is vital. And the one thing we need to make sure we do is with our eyes up and a smile on our face and love what we're doing, and that's the goal. Well,
I hope that you feel a hell of a lot of support, man, because, this is our country's team, our national team, and it's no better year than when we're actually fighting with backs against the wall for a world title, man. This is as good as it gets. I love this time of year, eh?
Yeah, I love it too, and, rest assured, I mean, we want to make sure that we earn that support every day in our work, and that's our goal. Devlin.